only started recording there just as you were halfway through that, and this is what I was trying to get across before, is that Pow wasn't a million miles away from rock, but the culture around it was literally like you were doing like you know. I don't know. With somebody doing
mainstream.
You're doing one, you know, with Gillen you're doing like your rock thing, whatever, and over here you're doing like
Mr. Blobby.
TV shows with Mr. Blobby, you know, Petula Clark.
You know, Noel Edmonds' bloody swap shop, and that was the kind. You did a lot of that stuff, didn't you? You did a lot of that era.
We done it.
What's Noel Edmonds called?
It was the
Crinkly Bottom, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think we done it with Noel Edmonds' Full House, and the theme that
House Party.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yes,
it was an Antarctic ice station, so there was all loads of fake snow about, and WOGAN. You know, we went mainstream, but I saw the writing on the wall as soon as the Sun and the Daily Mirror got hold of us, and they were sending reporters down to Shrewsbury to dig up any old dirt on Carroll. I thought, this is it now. They're going to turn, because once you get in with them, you're darlings for a year or so, and then we're fed up with you. They start slagging you off, and
yeah, but it's not like.
But as a band, you know, you don't turn it down. You're getting we're selling millions of records. It's like you got to play the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although I saw the disaster side of. The last thing I'd want is the dailies, the Sunday press to do double page spreads on you. It'd be like, oh, kiss of death.
Yeah.
Kiss of death.
And we think, I know the media's got worse, you know, in recent years, you know, with Nothing Is Sacred, but back then, anything in popular culture was just open season the way I mean, now it doesn't matter whether it's a politician or somebody's private life or anything like that.
Different now.
But even then, it was the same thing, wasn't it? It was literally like, it's open season. You know, you're a celebrity, so therefore I can, you know.
Yeah. And the main thing as well, they don't like nice stories. They want the shit. They want to see you at your worst. They want to slag you off. Yeah. And that is one of the worst things about this country in general.
They want to see the big fail after the.
They love a failure. They make. I mean, who was our?
What Amy Winehouse? Look what they did to her. I mean, that was just criminal.
Yeah.
Criminal.
I mean, who was our biggest sporting star in the snow? No, in the snow. Eddie the Eagle.
Oh, Eddie the Eagle.
Everyone knows the worst ski jumper in the world. Yeah. Did you know who the best one was? No, we don't care about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Frank Bruno, boxer.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Glassjaw.
He's
never going to be a Mike Tyson, but he's our national hero. But he keeps getting walloped. Yeah. You know, it's like, who's our best guy? Oh, we don't know. Don't care about him.
Yeah.
They always.
It was like that then, definitely.
Oh God, it's fucking shocking, mate.
There is something that you learnt during that era, though, which I need to share with you. I need to share it with these guys, really, that are watching. You're the one that's done the mainstream sort of rock band becomes pop band, becomes TV, you know, and when you do Noel Edmonds and you're doing the Brit Awards, then you're kind of covering all the bases.
All of that, yeah.
But there's one thing that you learnt during that, and that is having your photograph taken. I've told you this before. This guy here, right, you take a photograph, right, you get everybody to line up, and what happens is, there's 6 people, and you go, okay guys, let's take some photographs. You go, snap, 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 snap. First one, his eyes are closed, over here. What's he doing? He's looking the other way. He's got a funny look on his face, whatever. And when you edit photographs, you tend to go, right, you just get the arrow and you just go click through them all, and you go, tick, 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 let's find one where everybody's looking all right. And you go through, and one person's got their eyes closed, he's got a funny face, he's going to do this, whatever. Deano is like a statue at the back, and he's literally just like, he adopts a pose quite often like that, and his eyes never close, and he looks cool as shit from the moment of the first photograph to the rest of it.
Man, we used to, before an album came out, we used to do a month tour of TV, photo sessions with some of the biggest photographers. I can't remember their names now. What's his name? Terry, Sheila Rock, Terry. Oh, I don't think we done David Bailey, but Carol might have done. But you know, you do. You just learn your craft, because for one, you're bored shitless. And you just want to, let's get this photo done, I want to go home. So you don't fuck about, you know, you don't carry on talking and trying to be funny, and it's like, get the photo done. Got it? What, you done? great, I'm off, see you later. So yeah, I learnt a lot from them days, and how to conduct yourself within that genre, that side of the business.
Tell you what I'm going to do, guys.
Can you not intro and outro the various segments?
I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable right now. Okay.
That's because Kaz is looking through the gap.
Yeah, but the thing is, and I don't know whether I really want to do this. I feel like if I don't do it, I'll be missing out on something. But I also feel a bit ambulance chasey. So I'm just going to tell you. No, it's not good news actually. Jeff Beck, sadly, has just passed away. So.
What?
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Hey?
Just come up on my watch.
What?
Oh.
Jeff Beck?
I believe so. Let me just double check in case I'm completely wrong. My phone's not here, but it just came up on my watch.
Wow.
Yeah, 78. Age 78. So.
He's 78?
I can't believe he's just come up in the conversation. You were just talking about him.
Fuck me.
That's kind of.
What did he pass away with? Does it?
Well, it says here, contracting meningitis. So.
Wow.
What? How on earth do you get meningitis?
Well, easy.
Really?
Well, yeah.
What is it?
You can get bacterial or you can get viral meningitis.
Yeah, one isn't a killer, one is.
Look, guys. I mean.
Well,
This is an awkward thing,
Facebook is going to be absolutely awash.
I'm trying not to make this into like an ambulance. We're just talking about the press. I'm making a podcast. I'm thinking, well, what do I do? Do I turn the cameras off? What do I do? But he's cropped up in this conversation, and it kind of raises it for me. It kind of makes you think, well, when you hear the stories that you guys have told, for me personally, listen to it, it's like you're part of an era that is not going to be around forever, and we're not going to be around
forever. It's
all
over it. Jeff Beck everywhere.
And in some respects, it's kind of everything is. There isn't any good thing about that even in the slightest. But just the fact that we have lived through this era is every day you get reminded of a little bit more of how lucky we've been really to be able to do this.
Oh man.
Yeah. I mean,
I've got my other Jeff. I've been up his house a few times.
Yeah, I mean,
tying in with a cozy pal story. It was me, my mate Al, and Jill, my ex. We went down to Jeff's house, and Cozy was there, sitting on a sofa like this. Jeff's just got a guitar, watching Laurel and Hardy films. Cozy's on the floor, like, and we're just sitting there, and Jeff's like, "I love this bit," just unplugged in. And I'm just sitting here, he's right here next to me, the guitar neck's up here. Yeah. I'm like, wow, I can't believe this. Yeah. And that was the night. Cozy Pal said, like, White Snake were looking for guitarists, and he said, I'll put a word in for you.
As you do.
It was the one night my bottle went, I was like, oh, right, okay, but I thought, fuck, no. I was, what, 21, 22, I thought, wow. Oh, man.
Yeah. It was the really awkward moment for me, that, because I'm like, how can I carry on doing this podcast without telling you guys? You just think I'm a right twat for not saying something and being all jolly, because it's a major thing. I mean, for me, if we're going to just leave the cameras rolling, I don't know where we're going here, but, let's just say we just leave them rolling. I think he's, for me, having been a big fan of the sort of widdly, fluffy kind of, 80s kind of thing and really buying into all that, one of my first step was suddenly appreciating Zeppelin. I'd always treated Zeppelin as the old school, and never really, I thought, and I suddenly learned the importance of Zeppelin really in the overall scheme of things, and the fact that they were much bigger than I ever had them down as. Jeff Beck's one of these people that I heard him numerous times over the years, and I always associated him with my sister's music, who's a little bit older than me, that era. And then as time's gone by, I've seen and read and listened to so much of his stuff that I've just really come to realise what an absolute legend and what a backbone for the rock music he is.
Well, he's borderline mainstream because he's done so much stuff for so many people. He's played mainstream, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Without actually being mainstream himself. It's bizarre. I
mean, it's him on the end of Layla, isn't it?
No, that was Dwayne Allman. That's Dwayne Allman.
What was the one that wasn't there?
He's done Tina Turner.
He was on
Stevie Wonder stuff. You think Bon Jovi, Dead or Alive?
Is he playing?
Oh
that?
no, what was the one from the film? The solo.
It's the from Blaze of Glory, isn't it?
Oh,
Blaze
right,
of Glory.
Yeah, Blaze of Glory.
Blaze of Glory.
Jeff does the guitars on that.
But he's always the kind of guy that just turn up and do it, and then just go home and start building a hot rod or something.
Talking about Eddie Van Halen being a game changer and stuff, but a lot of people can play like Eddie. Not many people can copy Jeff Beck. He's the unique style of that man and his knowledge of.
We hear Brian May and Gary Moore. You hear so much Jeff Beck in there playing.
Yeah,
loads of it. He's actually probably the go-to even before Page and Blackmore.
Yeah.
So you watch him. It's him doing Nessun Dorma.
Oh yeah.
Some big stadium arena.
Yeah.
Open air thing. Well,
Yeah,
I
saw that
just get
recently,
floods of tears. It's just astonishing.
There's going to be a hell of a tribute concert lining up soon, chaps.
I mean, I think anybody who has picked up a guitar and then sort of gone back through and learned about it, you can't bypass Beck in anything rock and roll, can you? He's in there. He's buried in the DNA.
Oh
really.
yeah, believe. I mean,
you mentioned Eddie Van Halen. I mean, he Clapton and Beck were his they were his idols, you know. I mean, 78. Wow.
I can remember when I was at school. There was two things we wanted to learn, and one was In the Broken Dream, Python Lee Jackson, because that's Beck on that, isn't it?
Wow.
And also the solo to Silver Lining.
Yeah.
That was because that was attainable. You could actually learn that one, and you go, I can do Jeff Beck's guitar solo. He hated it with a passion.
Yeah, he hated it.
But that was the one that you had to, when you're 14, 15, that's the one you could actually have a little go at doing and have half a chance of pulling it off, but you weren't going to do In a Broken Dream anytime soon, or anything else in that era.
Yeah, People Get Ready.
Rod Stewart. Oh well, what a shame that is.
Yeah, his connection with Rod Stewart was quite strong as well, though, wasn't it? Because he was
the first Jeff Beck group. Rod Stewart was the lead singer.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Page ripped off all his songs and ideas and started Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And that's been a beef between them two.
I can imagine.
It's more jokey now, but I think there was some serious.
Oh, back in the day, it was renowned. That first Zeppelin album was completely half-inched, wasn't it?
Jeff Beck group.
Yeah, it's a whole podcast of its own, that one, isn't it?
Well, if I was going to go up to Ladbrokes and they do the bets on who's going to go next, I would not have put my money on Jeff Beck.
I thought he was.
No.
I thought he was pretty. I mean, there's a few more that you'd put your money on.
But then
first.
again, things like meningitis, you can be healthy as fuck and get struck down with something like that.
How the hell do you even?
I mean,
and Keith Richards lives forever.
It's very difficult to talk about this stuff without making it sound like we're trying, because there's always this thing with just looking at the Cats in Space thing and connecting it with that. I know we're trying to sort of discuss around Cats in Space a little bit, but it does make me think I always think of Cats in Space as a very current band. I mean, you're not resting on an 80s hit or anything like that. You're out there making new albums and making new music, and every time you go out to tour, you got a new album.
We just look heritage.
And every time you do that, the albums have massively, 5-star reviews and everything. Cats in Space is a current band. But there is this thing, you do feel like sometimes you're just swimming against the current with rock music now. And when you hear stuff like this, you just hope that a lot of people have managed to hear him or see him live or something before it goes, because it's a little bit like that thing. You can't go out and tell people to like Cats in Space, but you do sometimes scratch your head and think, there must be things in this music that are important. And in the same way as Jeff Beck, a lot of people go, well, I don't even know who that is, And there isn't any rule. It's a very arrogant sort of muso thing to say, oh, well, you should know, and, because it's music. It's what you do in your spare time. You don't have to know who Jeff Beck is, but you do sort of go through that. I'm trying to think how I'm framing this. What I'm trying to say is your musical knowledge complete, and can you form an opinion on things if you're missing out on important things like Jeff Beck and things like that? There isn't really an answer to that, but these are the kind of things you think through in your head, aren't they?
Yeah.
And when you're trying to get people to sort of connect,
well, everything goes full circle. See, that's the thing. Everything goes, even though rock music and music is so open, it's more open than it's ever been because of the internet. So trends don't tend to die off like they did in the 70s and 80s. It's more like all the trends are now here because Spotify can keep them alive. So you can still be into dance music or metal or rap or punk or whatever. So, but everything does have its full circle, and you find that the good stuff rises to the top, and the stuff that rises to the top is normally the heritage stuff because it's much better than all this other stuff that's wobbling around along with it at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that comes and goes, but the heritage stuff stays forever, and you've got to try and get onto that boat.
I mean, I try not to be too much of an old sort of like an old timer talking about how good the old days were, because I got you know, I live with children that my girlfriend's got children, and I've had like, you know, my own children now grown up, so I've had in various eras when things were popular, you know, you have to do that thing where you go, well, that's your music and that's whatever. But you do kind of listen to some of the music that is around at the moment, and I just even being open-minded about it, there was always music around that I would go, I don't like that, but I can kind of see why it exists. I just feel everything is so...
It's so bad now.
It's so packaged now, in a sense.
Try listening to Radio 1
Oh,
yeah.
daytime.
Yeah.
Oh,
It sounds to me like it's all speeded up chipmunk music.
yeah, nursery rhyme.
That's what it sounds like.
The
And yet
most
back in
basic-
the...
Using all sounds that basically the younger generation are growing up with their little space games, and it's all blips and farts and
Two
pings,
bob.
and it's like horrid.
You think back to the old days, right? So, I mean, I'm a stickler for being set in my ways, as anyone knows. But I like Queen, Thin Lizzy, Rush, Kiss, UFO. Back in the day, I technically wouldn't entertain anything other than that. Yet I love pop music, and I love all forms of pop music, whether it's Manhattan Transfer, Pilot, Gladys Knight, the Buggles, whatever.
Carpenters.
Carpenters are different. I mean, Carpenters were borderline progressive when they started. I mean, some of their songs are, I mean, they're just a different gravy to me. But all that beautiful pop music that was old school, crafted songs with orchestras, singers that were singing live on different takes. You know, your Cilla Blacks and your Petula Clarks, they didn't drop in vocals, they sang fucking takes. And they went, take 12 was the best one, we're going to have take 12, you know. Actually, we had her on take 2, but we made her do 12 more anyway. You know, all that wonderful stuff, you know.
Well, it was music as well made by musicians. Now, music is made by producers, young kids in their bedroom, DJs. I mean, how has Fatboy Slim become as big just through spinning some and putting together samples?
Yeah,
it's
Kings
like,
and Clothes, isn't it? Yeah. It's thieving. It's thieving. Even Trevor Horner and Frankie Goes Hollywood, which I think was a massive game changer in the 80s, that absolutely pioneered the 80s production when everything started going completely nuts. If you, and I remember back in the day, Jesus Christ, did I hate that back end of the 80s. Everything was just production over no substance. However, that's what I thought back then, because I was into, you know, then I was back into the 70s already. I'd already got the car back. But when you listen back now, apart from your Go Wests and your Tears for Fears, who are proper quality bands with real top session players.
I mean, Nick Kershaw
Brilliant quality.
stuff.
But even some of that pop stuff, even that we hated today, that now sounds like Mantovani compared to the fucking pop music of today. You know, there was still a structure and a chorus and backing vocals and a value to it, you know. You know, even like it's like Yaz, The Only Way Is Up. You know, God, I hated that song. I just loathed that song. If I hear it now, I will listen to the song and just go, there's a top, middle and bottom to this. You know, most songs then still had a sensibility about them.
The other person that's cropped up on my radar recently, reminded me of my childhood, was Andy Kitson, the legendary Andy
Kitson. What? He was part of your childhood?
He was, yeah.
What did he sing? I thought he was going to say Andy Williams.
I was his babysitter. No. I thought I'd do it that way around. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
But the no, he went to see Leo Sayer recently.
Oh, mate, superb.
And Leo Sayer's a guy who kind of got, he was another example of somebody who got dragged onto like, you know, like Morecambe and Wise show and things like that, and became a kind of...
Had his own show.
Little guy with, you know, and he became a little bit of a novelty, little guy, squeaky voice, that kind of thing. But his catalogue of music, when you listen to it, you're like, holy
Hold on
shit.
hold on a minute, yeah, yeah. He had his own TV show in the 80s, early 80s, ITV. They were doing singer series, like Cliff had a series, Leo had a series, Lulu had a series, several others did.
Well, Lulu had her show back in the 60s.
In the 60s as well, yeah.
Hendrix
yeah.
did it when the Cream split
Oh, that's
up.
right, yeah, they did, yeah. But the Leo Sayer and his songwriting partner, Carol Bear Sager, You're Moving Out Today,
Yeah.
they virtually wrote all of Roger Daltrey's solo album, Giving It All Away, which is one of the greatest pop songs ever. Leo wrote that. You know, One Man Band, which Roger Daltrey covered on the same album. Leo wrote that.
Yeah.
His arsenal of hits is very impressive. In fact, when he went to America, the You Make Me Feel Like Dancing period, as they call it, who was his backing band on some of those albums over in America? Toto.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, they did everything that come out of
Exactly.
LA.
That's the LA albums. So Leo went from 73 right into the 80s, you know, past Orchard Road and out. Like, he had a massive, criminally underrated. Criminally underrated. So if you're watching Leo, I love you.
Somebody that you mentioned as well, who is kind of in my thoughts a lot at the moment, is Alice Cooper. There was a really good interview that I listened to recently with again the Raconteurs, and it was
Bob Ezrin.
Bob Ezrin.
Yeah. So,
well, he was the sound.
What I'll do is I'll go, it was Bob Ezrin, so I can cut it in and look like I can remember his name.
Go on then.
Bob Ezrin. What a great interview, and he talks about that whole Alice Cooper
Total
thing with
legend.
Floyd and everything. And these people are like, when you actually hear what they did to build that stuff, you know. But because if you think about it in a way, producers were always looked at a little bit like, you know, often people say, oh, you know, Def Leppard were nothing without Mutt Lange, and you know, Thank You Goes to Hollywood, nobody without Trevor Horn. And obviously, that's something that you would never know unless.
Well, that was Trevor Horn, though.
Well,
and Steve Lipscomb, what his name is. Yeah.
But even back in the 70s, producers and the business, you know, made people. I mean, the amount of input that Bob Ezrin had on Alice Cooper's stuff was just
immense,
incredible.
But everything Bob Ezrin did it sounds like Bob Ezrin because. You know, this is quite common knowledge, I guess, but Bob Ezrin would record effects to tape. So when he was recording vocals, the delay or the reverb would be on the tape. It would be on the track. You couldn't put it on afterwards. Whereas most producers would put all and he did it apparently so no one could fuck about with his mixes. So if you want to remix Bob Ezrin stuff, you're left with all the effects are already there. But he had that sound. If you listen to Hello Hooray and all that kind of stuff,
brilliant!
And you think, wow. And you think,
I've always said, if we're going to do another cover,
Hello Hooray is the one.
Hello Hooray,
and I'm in on that.
Or even Elected
or Hello Hooray, yeah. And then you listen to Kiss Destroyer. Although theatrically they're the same mould, technically they're poles apart. Yet all the sounds that's on Alice Cooper are on Destroyer with the bells and the church organ and the bass piano playing the guitar chords and stuff. He had a unique sound. I mean, he is the Cats in Space blueprint.
Well, that's funny you should say that because a friend of mine, Sarah Tate, big fan of Cats in Space. If she's watching this,
hello Sarah.
Hello Sarah. Sarah recommended to me recently an Alice Cooper album, which I wasn't familiar with, which is...
Welcome to My Nightmare?
No. She said, you need to listen to this album because this album, her dog is called Alice, and after Alice Cooper. She's a massive Alice Cooper fan, and she loves Cats in Space as well. And she said that to her is the album that crosses over.
Lace and Whiskey 77, From the Inside 78, Flush the Fashion 80.
From the Inside.
From the Inside, 1978.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And I know that isn't possibly. I'm not necessarily focusing on the Bob Ezrin.
How Are You Going to See Me Now as a single?
Yeah, and there's the duet on there as well, which is with.
Oh, Bernie Taupin wrote the lyrics on this. From the Inside, Wish I Was Born in Beverly Hills, The Quiet Room, Nurse Rosetta, Steve Lukather,
Yeah.
Million Billy,
Million Billy is an
Serious.
interesting one. It's a duet, that one.
How Are You Going to See Me Now, For Veronica's Sake, Jackknife Johnny, and Inmates.
Interesting album, and I listened to it, and you can almost feel the connection. It doesn't sound like you've copied it. It just sounds like we all grew up on that kind
The
of stuff.
Tubular Bells is a Bob Ezrin thing that I've always loved, but that's a lot on the earlier stuff, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like Elected and definitely Welcome to My Nightmare. Definitely.
What's your favourite album of all time?
Whose?
Yours.
My favourite album of all time.
Yeah. It's a tough question.
Well, it's not. Actually. It's not. It's a very straightforward question, but it's equal to albums, and I can't split them.
Okay.
So it's either Jailbreak,
Yeah.
or it's Queen 2.
Okay.
It was Sheer Heart Attack because I did a podcast with it years ago, and I was dilemmaing over it. I like to do a whole album rundown with this guy, and as I was doing Sheer Heart Attack, I was thinking to myself, technically Queen 2 is the album you should be talking about. And at the end I said, it could have been Queen 2, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Queen 2 and Sheer Heart and Jailbreak for me.
Deano?
Close to the Edge. Yes.
Oh, really?
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay, best live album, because this is controversial.
Strangers in the Night for me.
Oh,
It encapsulates.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah, no, I'm so nearly with you on that.
See, I know
Who's
that
UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I know it really for people of my age, you've almost got to be exactly the age that I am, which is 58. If that was you, you literally went head to head. The conversation in the sixth form common room or anywhere that you were when that album was released. I mean, I don't know where I was, but basically, but the conversation was always Live and Dangerous versus
that Strangers
in the Night.
100%.
And I still fall towards. See, I struggle with. I know you're going to hate me for this, but I didn't like everything that Thin Lizzy did, where I liked most things that UFO.
Well, you're an
did.
absolute clown, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
No,
no,
because I'm going to shock you anyway with my answer. So
I'm a clown in your nightmare.
welcome to my clown in your nightmare, said Bob Ezrin. No, I'm so nearly with you on UFO. I'm so nearly there because Schenker's playing on it is out of this world, and he was only in his early 20s. Yeah. Most people think I'd say Live and Dangerous. But I prefer, as we'll do a podcast on it, what has recently been released is the actual 6 recordings that was culled from. And I'll tell you why it's not my favourite live album of all time. I'll put this in now before we do the other one, is because I just think they wasted an opportunity putting on Baby Drives You Crazy. Can't stand it. They could have put on Opium Trail, then it would have been untouchable.
Okay.
So, but
Live and Dangerous.
Yeah, but
they did the same with Strange in the Night. They really, because that was recorded over several gigs and pieced together,
and they left off Cherry.
Well, they did. Well, there's 2 versions of this. They reissued it and rehashed all the tracks. They put more of the banter in between the songs.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't like it because it was cemented in my mind. So if he says,
changing the mics,
please fill in. I don't want the bit in where he's talking about you can trash the PA and whatever, which are the extra bits they put in afterwards. And it opens with, it opened with Natural Thing, didn't it, originally?
Natural Thing is the
opener, and then it changes on it. So I think the opener's different on the reissue, but then they also, what they've done now is they've released the recordings either side of it.
That's right, and they've also, This Kid's Mother Mary was actually recorded afterwards in the studio.
Was it? Okay.
I'm dubious about a lot of live albums.
Yeah.
Because
they're all tinkered with.
Yeah, of course, and some even re-recorded. I mean, well, it's out there. You can read Sammy Hagar's thing, Van Halen live right here, right now. Mm-hmm. That was more or less completely redone in a studio. It's like
kept the crowd. 'Cause it sounds good.
Yeah, but that ain't live. I'll tell you, live albums that I thought were great, that I think are pretty real. Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush.
Yes, yes.
What a player that geezer is, or was.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what he's like these days, but man alive. I went to see them. They came over and done their first show, and I only went because Lone Star was supporting them.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of Mahogany Rush, and he came
World
out.
Anthem.
Yeah.
And,
But
of
the
course,
live album is like, wow. But, you know, when apparently like the Lizzie Live and Dangerous.
Ah, yeah. Well, now when you get the box set with all the other versions on, that dispels a lot of that myth straight
but the
away.
weird thing about Live and Dangerous
It's,
is
it's edited, but the actual performances of the songs that they reckon have been tampered with, blah, 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 blah. When you hear where those records have come from in the box set, you'll go, hang on a minute, that Massacre is the fucking same. Of course it is. It hasn't been tampered with that much. What they spliced was there's one song's got a back end of one solo from another take, and there's, you know, the recordings was moved around a bit, but the actual core performances, when you hear the three Johnny the Fox gigs they recorded and the three Philadelphia gigs, there's very little movement.
The biggest thing about Live and Dangerous wasn't so much who did what, and the biggest thing became who could remember what they did and what the conversations about it didn't highlight whether the album was hacked up or not. It highlighted how much off their face they were at all the times, because nobody's story matches from any angle.
Including mainly Tony Visconti, who says, oh yeah, it was all redone in the studio. They kept the drums because Brian was really good, but a lot of this was done. When you listen to the Johnny the Fox Hammersmith shows, and then the Philadelphia shows, and those have not been overdubs, because how could they be? Because Phil's not here, Robbo hasn't been anywhere near it, and Scott oversaw the remixes of them, but they weren't big remixes, allegedly. Certainly no overdubs have taken place. You will hear the source, and you'll go, well, hold on a minute, that's the same. Robbo hasn't gone in and done over these guitars there. It's 90%. Okay. So it goes to all the myth.